Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Sharma. A huge twist in the Congress Punjab crisis. Captain Amarinder Singh, who was Chief Minister till just a few days back, has met the Home Minister Amit Shah at his residence. It is the worst possible crisis for the Congress, with clear signs that there could be a three-way split in the Punjab Congress. A faction backing Navjot Sidhu, one backing Chief Minister Channi, and now Amarinder Singh, possibly looking beyond the Congress. But the bigger question is the crisis in the Congress now increasingly existential. Leaders such as Kapil Sibal have gone on record asking a very basic question. Where is the leadership of the party? If they aren't listening, how are they resolving the crisis? That'll be our big debate coming up top. I'll be joined by the Congress Lok Sabha MP Manish Tiwari, but later on the program, the new Ayushman Bharat digital mission will be joined by R.S. Sharma, the man who's been in charge of COVID, on how the digital interface, the new one being planned, will revolutionize healthcare in India. But first, our big story, the crisis in the Congress party with Amarinder Singh till just a couple of days back, the Chief Minister of Punjab, meeting the Home Minister Amit Shah. Is he headed to the BJP? Is he seeking the support of the BJP as he tries to make his own political party? I spoke earlier on, just a little while back, to the Congress Lok Sabha MP Manish Tiwari. Captain meeting Amit Shah, is it your belief that he has definitively been lost to the Congress?
Well, Captain Amarinder Singh has spent long years in the Congress party. He was Chief Minister for 4.5 years. And if he has gone to call on the Home Minister, there must be a valid and cogent reason. So why don't you ask him that question? I think he would most happily answer it.
No, but Manish, is there a sense that he is now, the context has to be looked at very clearly? This is not just a courtesy visit, is it?
Well, Vishnu, then let me try and explain the context to you very clearly and succinctly. And I would appreciate if you would bear with me.
Go ahead.
In 2017, when the people of Punjab voted the Congress into power and gave it 77 MLAs, what was the mandate or what was the message the people of Punjab were sending? That they wanted the security of the state, they wanted the safety of the citizens, and over and above that, they wanted political stability. And the reason why I delineate these three markers is primarily because whenever the political stability of Punjab has been disrupted, people of Punjab have paid the price in blood. Between 1980 and 1995, over 35,000 people were martyred at the altar of nationalism to protect the unity and integrity of India. A majority of them were congressmen. People like us and many of my colleagues had to pay a personal cost for preserving the unity and integrity of our country. So therefore, under those circumstances, in a border state like Punjab, which has a very unique and a peculiar milieu, whenever political stability gets disturbed, the only people who feel happy is our Western neighbor and especially their deep state, the ISI.
No, I understand this, Manish.
Emboldened that they are after the success in Afghanistan that they've installed the Taliban government out there.
So is he talking about the potential role of the ISI with the Home Minister of India, or is he looking for potential support should he form his own political formation? Or heaven knows, is there a possibility of a tie-up with Amarinder Singh in the BJP, because we all know he cannot go with the Akalis?
Vishnu, unfortunately, with great respect, media at times cannot get beyond the immediate. It's like instant gratification. I started out by saying that Captain Amarinder Singh is more than competent to answer as to why he met the Home Minister. So therefore, neither am I going to second guess him, neither am I going to answer on his behalf. I think those answers you should seek from him.
But fair enough. I take that. I accept that. You don't know the answers. Perhaps, and therefore the question you believe is unfair. But is it not an incredible setback to the Congress party in the context of what we see now in the Congress in Punjab?
Well, as I told you earlier, that for me, much more germane than electoral considerations is the peace and the calm of Punjab,
yes,
which was a very hard-won cost. we must understand that in Punjab for the past 1 year, there has been a sustained farmers' agitation against the NDA BJP government's farm laws. Through winter, the second wave of COVID-19, sweltering summer, farmers have been agitating on the borders of Delhi.
Yes.
And last thing which the people of Punjab want is that a government that they had voted to power with such overwhelming numbers, such an overwhelming mandate, had reposed their faith in the Congress in Punjab when during the Lok Sabha elections, when we didn't do very well across the country. The last thing they want is people's squabbling for things which are extremely, if I may use that word, irrelevant for the people of Punjab. So therefore, under those circumstances, whenever you have a situation, and I have lived through that situation, having cut my teeth on the trench lines of the fight against militancy and terror in Punjab, whenever there is political instability, whenever you have any subversion of the peace in Punjab, the price for that is paid by the people of Punjab.
Okay. Manish, when you talk about instability in the Congress in Punjab or in Punjab, do you believe that that instability will take place as a result of a potential three-way split? Navjot Sidhu going way, Chief Minister Channi another way, and Captain Amarinder Singh possibly a third way. We don't know which way he will go.
Well, at this point in time, I think it should be the foremost priority of everybody, every congressman, to ensure that the mandate of the people is respected and stability and sanity is restored both to the state and to its governance. These internecine battles, this prolonged sulking, I don't think augur wells for the state, and definitely people of Punjab are not approving what is happening, and therefore we had 4.5 years of political stability.
Okay.
The boat was absolutely stable, and unfortunately people who were charged with the remit of looking at Punjab, they did not grasp the magnitude and the uniqueness of this border state, especially when you have the Chinese who've intruded into Ladakh, as I earlier mentioned, the situation in Afghanistan. And this whole thing could have been handled much, much more better, much, much more elegantly, and in a far more graceful manner.
And so you are therefore referring to Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and Rahul Gandhi. Those are the people with the remit of looking at the Congress in Punjab. And therefore you believe that they made a mess of things, right?
Well, I am not taking any names and I'm not indulging in finger pointing. As I understand the Congress party, and I have been a part of it for the past 40 years, there are people in the All India Congress Committee who have specific responsibility, and therefore we saw two paradigms play themselves out. A paradigm where for 4.5 years, when Mrs. Asha Kumari was in charge of Punjab, where you had stability, you had also people's grievances being listened to, and unfortunately we are seeing the specter of instability since the May of 2021.
Okay, so given the latest twist that we are seeing, whether it's with Navjot Sidhu or Amarinder Singh now, and concerns raised by many senior leaders, for example, Kapil Sibal spoke earlier on today, Ghulam Nabi Azad has a series of concerns today as well. Would you agree that the Congress crisis going beyond Punjab is now at one level existential?
Well, the stability or the consolidation of the Congress party is very essential for the survival of the idea of India. And especially at a point in time when 7.5 years into the term of this government, the sheen of the NDA BJP government has completely worn off. People are looking for an alternative, they are searching for an alternative, and at this point in time, it is imperative that we get our act together and we measure up to the expectations and the aspirations of the people. The fact is that we've had 2 consecutive Lok Sabha defeats. The fact is that we have not done well in the previous round of assembly elections. The fact is that we can do exceedingly well even now with all the turbulence if we get our act together. Okay. An imperative in getting that act together is to ensure that all those people who have the experience, who have the sagacity, who have the political wisdom of having handled things over a period of time. The members of parliament from states like Punjab, most of them who have lost family members in the fight against terror, have spent long years in the Congress party. Those are the hands that you need to bring on deck. And similarly in other states, because otherwise we would be failing the people of India.
Okay. So do you therefore share the belief of Kapil Sibal, who earlier on today said this, and I quote him, in the Congress there is no elected president now. We don't know who is taking decisions. Is that succinctly put? Do you agree with him?
Well, as I said earlier, the fact remains that we need to measure up to the expectations of the people. We need to do everything which is necessary to be able to ensure that 2024 turns out different from 2019 and 2014. And therefore, some of the concerns which had been articulated last year, in the August of last year, remain germane even now. And therefore, if those concerns are addressed, I am sure the party would come out cohesive, the party would come out strengthened, and the party would be able to measure up to the expectations and aspirations of the people.
How big is the group of 23 now? Is it much more than 23? That number was coined by, perhaps a few people. People said it's 23 plus. I'm asking you, to the best of your understanding, is it much larger now? People who have problems with the leadership and all of what we've discussed?
Well, first of all, the nomenclature G23 was a figment of the imagination of the media. It has nothing to do with people who had articulated certain concerns. You must understand that the whole thing is not about numerals. The whole thing is about an idea to ensure that the party emerges stronger, the party emerges more cohesive. Nobody ever looked at numbers. Nobody was getting into a numerical game. There was a canard which was deliberately spread as if those people who had voiced those concerns were against the leadership. Let me unequivocally, clearly reiterate once for all, nobody is questioning anybody's leadership. Nobody is questioning anybody's supremacy or their numero uno position within the organization. But yes, there are concerns that till the time we do not, have a roadmap, we are not able to get a cohesive narrative in place, I am afraid we will not be able to measure up to those expectations or to those aspirations which people have of us today.
Now, Ghulam Nabi Azad in a letter has asked to Sonia Gandhi, has asked for a CWC, a Congress Working Committee meeting, as a first and immediate step. Would you agree that if Rahul and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra need to start dealing with the problem, they need to start listening to the problems expressed by many leaders, and perhaps as a first step, a CWC meeting is imperative?
Well, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad has now been a member of the Congress Working Committee, if I recall, going back to 1987. So he's been a member of the Congress Working Committee for over 4 decades. So if in his wisdom he has asked for a meeting of the Working Committee, I'm sure there must be certain concerns on his mind which he feels that the Working Committee is an appropriate forum to discuss it at.
Manish, this is something that Amarinder Singh had tweeted out a couple of days back, and I'm asking you that question. Is it your belief that Navjot Singh Sidhu is stable?
Well, for me, politics has never been about personalities. But yes, I would definitely say that I'm extremely anguished and distressed at the way things have panned out, because I feel that the political stability of the state which I represent in Parliament, which I had represented earlier in Parliament, is very, very important for the security and the stability of the Indian nation. And therefore, if there is anything which is done which disrupts that stability, which has implications on the peace of Punjab, I don't think it is in national interest.
Okay, now I just want to look at the Navjot Singh Sidhu angle a little bit more closely. Navjot Sidhu is apparently upset about the cabinet changes made by the new Chief Minister, Mr. Channi. He reportedly, he felt overruled in some controversial appointments which were made. And he decided to tweet out his resignation letter, which he'd sent to Sonia Gandhi without any consultation with the Gandhis. at all is, do you believe that the party needs to now take disciplinary action against him?
Well, as I earlier pointed out, I have zilch interest in personalities. My only interest is on the implications of the actions. As I understand, the Pradesh Congress Committee President has a very clear remit, and that remit is to strengthen the Congress organization. It is up to the Chief Minister and his cabinet colleagues to run the government. Those are parallel tracks, and therefore the sanctity of those parallel tracks has to be respected. Nobody can exercise overlordship primarily because he or she occupies one position or the other. In the past 40 years that I've spent in the Congress party, in charge of various states, this distinction has always been clearly maintained, and that is and it is the cohesiveness and the cooperation between people who occupy these two august offices which ensures that the Congress party functions in a manner where it best serves the interest of the people. And therefore, for let's say whatever reasons somebody may have, if you act in a manner which has implications, as I earlier pointed out,
yes,
implications beyond the political,
yes,
in a border state like Punjab, then I think it is a matter of deep concern and grave anguish.
Is it true that, to the best of your understanding, that some of the political capital that Navjot Singh Sidhu enjoyed within the top bracket of the Congress, that's on the wane, that's apparently, going away, and that perhaps your top leadership no longer wants to give in to his demands? This is again buzz. I'm asking you about what people are talking about.
Well, Vishnu, you can keep raising the ghosts and I can keep slaying them. This speculation gets us nowhere. As I told you, for me, individuals don't interest me. Only actions which have broader implications on certain things which I hold are very dear and sacrosanct for the survival of my state, because as a border state, it is an existential question that we face every day, given the number of drones that come in laden with weapons and narcotics and hand grenades and AK-47s and small arms from Pakistan. So therefore, those are the things which concern me. I mean, these internecine fights or these factional fights have never interested me, and they do not continue to interest me. If I am distressed or anguished today, it is because I am apprehensive that or I have trepidations that this may have implications on that hard-won peace that we paid we paid for in our own blood. We don't want the Punjab to roll back to the days of 1980 to 1995.
All right, Manish Tiwari speaking to me earlier on today on the crisis in the Congress party in Punjab. Remember, Amarinder Singh, the man who was Chief Minister of Punjab till just a few days back, has met the Home Minister Amit Shah. Which way is he tilting? Is he going to form his own party with the support of the BJP? Is he going to go to the BJP, or is he going to remain in the Congress party? Nobody really knows. But earlier on, I spoke to the man behind the CoWIN app, which has done quite well across the country, R.S. Sharma, because India is now going to have an Ayushman Bharat digital mission. The goal is to bring healthcare through a digital app, not one but many apps, which is going to redefine the way healthcare actually works in the country. Now, I began by asking him a little bit about how the Ayushman Bharat digital app was going to work.
Well, one is that let's understand, thank you very much first of all for having me on your channel. One of the fundamental overarching, philosophy behind this is to leverage the digital technologies to deliver health services in a more cost-effective manner, in a more accessible manner, and also in an inclusive manner. So that's the broad objective. Now, as you will agree, in these COVID times, we have learned to communicate through the video conferencing. Like probably I would have come down to your studio in normal times. I would have had a cup of tea and sort of shared a joke or two together. Today, we are all communicating on the virtual platforms, and now we are realizing that it is as effective as communicating sitting in the same room. So therefore, what has happened is that India must leverage its digital power in terms of its connectivity, in terms of digital artifacts like digital identity, electronic signatures, unified payment interface. All these will be used for, in a health service provisioning. For example, you pay to your doctor, you get the prescription written by a doctor, you communicate through the teleconsultation, and all that is going to happen. So therefore, what is going to happen is this particular technologies are going to make these systems more cost effective, number one. Number two, it will be interoperable. Currently, we do have digital systems, but they are all siloed systems. They are all vertically integrated systems.
So how is it going to work?
Any medical delivery system, pharmacy systems, and all that. You must have seen many.
Yes.
Telecommunications, teleconsultation systems also.
But let me ask you this,
sir. Make them all interoperable.
The app will allow what? A digital meeting, an online meeting between a doctor and a patient? Is that one of the essential? Is that essentially what it's about?
Not an app. When you say app, it will be multiple apps.
I see.
Think of this this way. Currently, you have Ola or Uber.
Yes.
Now, you have an Ola app, then you can book Ola taxi. If you have an Uber app, you can book Uber taxi. Think of a situation where you have an Ola app and you can book any taxi, whether it is on Uber platform or whether it is on normal platform. That's the interoperability which this protocol-based system is going to bring about. And that is why we are calling it unified health interface, similar to unified payment interface, which means anything can connect to anything. And therefore, there will be large number of patient-facing apps, there will be large number of hospital-facing apps and stuff like that. That's how it goes.
So when is this going to be implemented?
The Prime Minister has launched it yesterday, and now we are going to implement it. Currently, it was being done in the 6 union territories, and a lot of proof of concepts have happened. Proof of concept on the personal medical record, proof of concept on the registry of the doctors, registry of the hospitals, registry of laboratories, registry of drugs. All those things have happened. Now what is going to happen is they are all going to be enriched and fulfilled by the entire countrywide rollout. So that's what we are going to begin.
So
now.
How many apps will there be?
As many as people want.
And to begin with?
So basically, startups will make applications, various people. Currently what is happening is startups will have to, build application, bring doctors, allow the download of those applications. So everything is being done by those startups. Tomorrow they'll just be able to plug into this platform and they will have access to the entire registry of the entire data or reference data will always be available with them. So therefore it's going to become very easy for our startups. And once they start doing that, they can, export their solutions to wherever they want to. So it's actually going to make it very easy for people to onboard to this platform. And this platform will be, it will not be Amazonification of health services, let me put it this way. This platform will be a platform which will be a democratic platform. It will be a platform which will provide a level playing field to everybody, big or small. So therefore, the small pharmacy, the pharmacy near you, person can just search. So it will enable the patient-facing application will enable searching, booking, like you are able to book COVID vaccination today, COVID vaccination. Similarly, those things will happen. And the current Arogya Setu app will probably become personal health record keeping application. There will be multiple applications which will happen. So this is going to generate an entire ecosystem of various types of applications which will plug into this platform.
Wonderful speaking to you, sir. It sounds absolutely fascinating. Let's hope it works out in the way that you described. Thanks very much for being with us. Now, we are completely out of time on Left, Right and Centre. My colleague Sanket Upadhyay comes up next. It's time for this short break.